So tell us your name, age, marital status, and where
So
you're from.
my name is Mariel. I'm 33, and that was actually my partner that was just there in the video a second ago. My boyfriend, and I currently live in Massachusetts.
Okay.
All right. So when did you find out you were infertile?
So when I was 30, that was our plan that I was going to go off birth control. So I went off birth control, and for about a year, we were trying and nothing happened. So I was like, oh, this doesn't seem right because everyone in my family always gets pregnant like that. Um, and so I was like, I think I'm going to go in for some testing and see like if there's anything going on. So by 31 was when I went in and I did blood work, hormone levels, everything was normal. So then they sent me to go get an HSG exam, and that's when I found out I had a blocked fallopian tube. And then from there was when we're like, all right, we need to figure out what the next steps are. And was when we started to look into IVF clinics.
Okay.
Okay.
So where are you currently in the process?
So right now, we actually just went through our second egg retrieval. We did one before, which we got two embryos from. We did a fresh transfer, and then we did a frozen transfer, which unfortunately none of those ended up sticking. So then we went through another egg retrieval last week, and we got three embryos from that round.
Congratulations on those.
Yeah, good.
Thank you. And now we're just waiting until my next cycle because they were afraid of hyperstimulation, so they wanted me to wait before doing the next transfer. So probably end of October, beginning of November, and we'll try and do another transfer.
Did you do genetic testing on your embryos?
No, we chose not to, just because my doctor said since I'm under 35, usually there's not very many genetic issues with the embryos. But I think if none of these end up sticking, I think I'll probably push for genetic testing maybe next year. But fingers crossed, we won't have to do that.
Yes, fingers
Yes.
crossed.
Yes.
Because it's so
Um,
expensive, and unfortunately, we just don't have the funds to be able to afford genetic testing right now.
no, completely understandable. That's what we were gonna ask you next. What resources do you all use to pay for IVF?
So unfortunately, my work insurance does not cover IVF, and because we're not married, I can't go into his insurance because his insurance would cover it. But like I said, we're not married yet. So I actually found private insurance that I'm paying for, which is pretty expensive, but it's less expensive than what it would be to pay out of pocket for all of the IVF expenses. So I'm paying out of pocket for private insurance.
Okay, that's understandable. I know
Mm-hmm.
sometimes like people get like little jobs at like Starbucks and stuff just to get
Mm-hmm.
that IVF coverage. So I always wonder
Mm-hmm.
what
Yeah.
people use for resources.
Yeah. So I'm actually working a second job on top of my full-time job just to cover to pay for insurance and IVF.
No,
Wow.
yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
So what advice would you give someone looking to do IVF?
Advice that I would give someone looking to do IVF is just get as much information as you can as possible, because information is wealth, knowledge. I was kind of, like I said, everyone in my family has been able to get pregnant just by looking at each other. So, um,
Same.
so unfortunately, I couldn't really look to them on like what to do in this situation. So I kind of just I joined Facebook pages to kind of get information to see what people were doing on there for insurance coverage and just kind of like what their experience was like. Um, but really just to really get as much information as possible. And I would also say just don't hesitate because I know if it's something that you really, really want and you know in the end you might have to end up doing IVF, just don't hesitate and don't wait. I think one thing I wish I had done when I was younger was maybe just kind of go get tested for everything just to see if maybe in the future there was going to be an issue because I don't know how long I've had the blocked fallopian tube, but maybe if I was younger and I'd known about it, I would have started IVF sooner or just I would just encourage people to go and get tested at a younger age just for everything, just hormone levels and just anything possible.
Yeah, no. Because a lot of people don't find out till later, and then you're stuck with older eggs. So,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it just also cuts your chances in half from there. So, with like your, if you don't mind me asking, with your previous transfers, did they just not take? Did they stick and then a miscarriage, or what happened?
So with both of the previous transfers, none of them stuck. I've never seen a positive pregnancy test ever in my life, so it's kind of discouraging.
Yeah.
Um, I was very positive going into everything. So I was like, oh, I'm a little bit on the younger side, so I feel like as soon as it's in there, my body's going to know what to do. But unfortunately, that hasn't happened. They just haven't stuck.
Yeah, no, I completely understand the hesitation and I feel like IVF takes you on an emotional roller coaster.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so how do you cope with that? Who has been your biggest support system?
So fortunately, my partner has been there every step of the way from the beginning, getting up with me early in the morning to go to blood work appointments, ultrasound appointments when he doesn't have to be there, but he chooses to come up with me. We have to drive about 45 minutes to an hour
Oh, wow.
um, for those appointments, and he comes with me. He's done all of my shots for me without hesitation. He just got in there and he was like, "All right, I'm gonna do it."
Yeah, your
He drives
personal
me.
nurse.
Yes,
No, that's beautiful.
It
he's
is.
Yeah.
been big support. And then also I have my mom, my dad, my sister, and my brother. They're also there. If he can't come with me to an appointment, then my mom was like, "All right, I'll come with you," or my dad would drive me if he couldn't come. So they've been very supportive throughout everything, and I don't know what I would do without them.
No, that's what I would say. This a support system is
Very important.
very, very important. That's the
Mhm.
biggest part of IVF is having people to support you because
Mhm.
in every step there's a new waiting period. There are
Mhm.
new highs and lows. So that support system is very much needed.
For sure. So I'm very blessed that I have them.
Yeah. Well, we do appreciate you sharing your story with us. And I wish you many, many tons of baby dust going forward for your new little embryos. And I hope they all stick for you
Yes.
if you plan to have them all.
Thank you. I appreciate it. And I appreciate you guys having me on here.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
think it's important for people to be able to tell their stories so that other people can also hear about it and just know that they're not alone and they can reach out to others in the community and that we'll be there to give them advice and support and whatever it is that they need.
Yes, I
Yes.
appreciate it very, very, very much.
Yes.
So tell us about yourself. We want to know like name, state, marital status, occupation.
Sure. My name is Destiny. I am in the state of North Carolina. I'm originally from Georgia, Savannah to be exact. And I am medically retired from the Army after 7 years, and currently I am a student at North Carolina A&T working on degree number 3.
Okay, good for you.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
I know school can be
And
hard
oh, and
with
it
that.
is. And I'm married. Forgot to mention I'm married, and I've got a full,
That
I
matters
got a
too.
full, I got a full house. I have dogs and kids and all the all the things. So,
How did you find out that you were infertile?
um, believe it or not, my I had my daughter. She will believe it or not, she'll be 13 in November, and But before her, I had a miscarriage before I met, her father at the time. I had a miscarriage, and then I had to do, unfortunately, a termination, and she was literally my only kid that I had. So that has made it to Earth. And so when I met my current husband, he already had two kids already from a previous marriage. And we were trying even in our dating stage, and we were like, something's not clicking, something's not making sense. So we eventually went on ahead and went to a fertility clinic here in North. We actually went to do fertility. They have been pretty much we've been in their care pretty much for years. Oh God, for about 3 years now. Um, and that's when we just started realizing that there was some male factor, stuff that might have been a factor in that for him. And for me, we couldn't figure out what was going on. So they pretty much classified me as what they call it, unexplained infertility. And so we just couldn't connect the dots and figure out what it is, and we still can't. So we almost had a birth. We lost our son 2 years ago. He would have been actually turning two tomorrow had
Sorry to
he
hear
been
that.
here. Yeah. And so we have his ashes and everything like that. And he was stillbirth at 24 weeks on the nose.
Oh,
So
wow.
yeah, so that was very traumatic to deal with. And then when we tried another time through IVF, I don't know if I just had some lesions or scarring, in that area where they kind of settle the embryo, and that one kind of collapsed at 7 weeks. And so when we tried it again, just a regular transfer, that one didn't even take. So I was just like,
Wow.
I guess, I guess it ain't meant to be, so that's kind of how I just went ahead and declared and said, look, I just can't have kids. We're done. I understand coming from a background, everybody has that it's all in God's timing. It's all in this, we're not denied. You're just a little delayed. Maybe the timing isn't right. It's divine, this and that. So I don't know. I'm not figuring it out.
No, completely understandable. So if you don't mind me asking, like for your husband, because I know a lot of women, we always look at us first to be like, well,
Mm,
what's wrong with me? But I like the fact that you did also look at your husband's health also to figure out what his issues were also.
yeah. And of course, men, and especially black men.
Yes.
What do you mean? There's nothing wrong with me.
Yeah.
My uncle was on stuff and he had 5 kids, and
It's
Yeah.
an ego thing.
It
oh,
definitely is.
right. So, but I had to explain to my husband. I said, look, your soldiers are not multiplying in numbers just because you were able to keep whatever habits and vices you had in your 20s, um, and you were a little bit more fit and stuff like that back then. It does not account for 20 years now down the line with
Right.
you drinking and beer and smoking cigars all the time and stuff like that. And I understand that some couples it can just be one ill-fated night and boom,
Right.
but but it's not a linear process. And sometimes maybe it's just not meant to be. I've even witnessed some friends I went to high school with, they've been married for 14, 15 years, and they've been going through that process, and they just had their first son after going through 14 years of IVF, IUI, natural, whatever you can name. They just had their first son, and they are over the moon. I tell
I
you.
know, they deserve to be.
Oh, yes. So whatever they did, that's great. I just don't know. I don't think the formula would be, So,
Yeah. No, I completely understand. So where you are in the process, are you over trying or you
I
try again
am.
in the future?
I am right now at a stalemate, because it is very emotionally and mentally and financially taxing. Whether insurance covers everything or it does not, the mental and the emotional burden that comes with it, it's very costly. That's something that you can't even spend money to stop, you know. So right now I still have a little bit of hope. But I am not making it I'm not over consuming it with my life, you know.
Yeah, no, I
So
completely understand. So whenever you were going through your first cycle, did you how many embryos did you end up with?
I ended up with 10. Um, I ended up with 10 that was retrieved. And I believe 4 or 5 made it, but did not test those. We did that first cycle. We went ahead and just did 2 embryos, and one kind of evaporated, and then the other one was what was supposed to have been our son. And that one was progressing really well until I ended up developing severe preeclampsia. I never had anything like that before. My daughter was the textbook pregnancy. I mean, from conception to the finish line, she was all of that. And that's what encouraged me to be like, I want to do this again. But I didn't think it would be 10 years down the line, when me and her father ended up divorcing, but we're amicable and we co-parent, with her. But with me and my second husband, it has just been completely the opposite of everything that you could imagine. So but yeah, that's what happened. I ended up doing 5 cycles.
Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh yeah, I went through it 5 times. I don't know if it was just I enjoyed the anesthesia or I was just a glutton.
No, hey, listen, the anesthesia, that's some of the best sleep. One minute I knew I was up and talking to them, and then the next they done already rolled me back to the bed
Right. And so I took advantage of whatever I possibly could at that time. And the last time I did the retrieval, we had nothing.
Oh, wow.
Nothing. Yeah, it was like it was just getting worse and worse and worse as we progressed down the line. And I was just like, you got to be kidding me. So I think there was just some environmental factors with that. I don't think I really took my health and and my husband's environmental health. I didn't take any of those things in account because when we started this process, we were in our mid to late 30s. So now my husband respectfully being 43 and I will be 42 soon. I still have done all the testing that I could. They did say, hey, your AMH levels are still good for your age. That's really good. You still got some left. But we don't know the quality. That would be the
Okay.
time. Mm-hmm.
Understand.
So I'm trying right now to find grants. I'm trying to also see what my insurance can cover since IVF fully insured from them is completely off the table at this point. So kind of we have kind of downgraded to either IUI or natural conception or natural timing conception or whatever they call it.
Yeah.
So
Mm-hmm.
can you explain what IUI is? Because I haven't been through this process and I don't know. What is IUI?
Sure. So IUI is intrauterine insemination. So basically, they can give you medication to stimulate your ovaries and get those eggs, growing a little bit faster. Because we're been told that we only grow and ovulate one, follicle, and one egg is pretty much released every month. And so what that does is you can get on certain medication that will help naturally get those follicles going, that estrogen and progesterone and all those things. And then they kind of hold the eggs. And then what they'll do is they'll time it and then I'll say, okay, well, about 36 hours from here, we're going to do the insemination. You're going to go to the room, your husband or your significant other, he's going to go in the other room. He's going to give his sample. They're going to wash basically all the semen or whatever they have to do to get all the good flowing sperm to kind of move Then they're going to put it in this little tube, and then they're going to insert it while you're consciously awake, insert it in your through your cervix and stuff, and see if the sperm is going to swim to that egg that they've released, and see if it's going to get fertilized and start the conception process naturally. Kind of like as if it's kind of like it's kind of like not, it's like having intercourse, but without wondering if it's going to pass the cervix or not.
Right.
Yeah, like it doesn't have to work for you.
No. And I always wondered, like, with IUI, do you still go through the medicated part of it? And I know for me, the
Mhm.
insertion of the cervix is probably one of the worst things. I wish that they could start medicating that somehow, some way.
I wish that they could do that too. I only went through it twice before we went all the way into IVF, where they pretty much literally did everything. All you had to like, oh, that one got fertilized. Awesome. Now put it in, and and then hopefully it sticks. And stuff, and pretty much, but yeah, but I wish there was a way that they can kind of make that the IUI portion less intensified, especially for women who are very sensitive to pain or have I think they call it vaginitis or vaginitis or whatever they call it, where anything close to the vagina gives them some sort of pain.
Yeah.
That I wish there was a technique that they would be able to do. I haven't heard of anything, honestly.
I don't think that there is one. I think it's just experimental at this point. What is the best and worst experiences that you've had throughout your journey?
Oh man, the best experience I've had was it felt like it felt like, oh my goodness, you're one step closer, especially if you're going into it and you're not realizing what the pros and cons are. You're really thinking, oh my gosh, this is it, this is the guarantee, this is whatever. And then that worst piece is, oh, this is not what you bargained for. Because you really don't know what's going to happen throughout the process. Because everything else might be great, and then I might end up in a situation like me where we're just half the finish, just halfway into the pregnancy, and everything is like doomsday. Um,
Yeah.
and whatnot. So that's like the worst. It's like an emotional gamble, honestly. But it can be so rewarding for women who have gone through it. Some can be one and done through that cycle and don't have to worry about it. They got their child, they don't have to worry about it. But then you've got that worst part is, how many more cycles can I keep putting my body through? How much more pain can I, endure all these losses? Is my marriage going to fall because of this, that kind of thing. So it's very, very, I don't care if you are a heterosexual couple, same-sex couple, a surrogate, it just doesn't matter. It's still one heck of a journey.
No matter who it is, it will definitely take you down through there. So, who is your biggest supporter?
Believe it or not, I had to lean on God and my husband, because it's going through that. When I went through my first cycle, I was like, hey mom, I'm going through this. Hey daddy, I'm going through this. Or a best friend or something like that, someone you can confide in. But then as the cycle started going, I started retreating back and was like, I'm not telling anybody anything, because no, I'm the first female in my family to have gone through this kind of experience. I've got I have cousins that if you breathe on them, they're pregnant.
Same.
Right. And I'm like, you know, she's they smoke. She ain't got no financial stability. They ain't got, God, why, really? And then,
Yes.
so I really had to lean on all of my faith in my husband. Like we went from involving our, certain friends and family to really just
Keeping it
rec-
quiet.
keeping
To
it so
y'all.
quiet.
Yeah.
Mhm.
No,
Because
I
you don't know who's happy for you. You don't know who's doubting your situation. You don't know what's going on, and you just didn't want to keep that type of whatever possible bad energy away from your situation as much as possible, if you can have, if you can stand it. But that's where my support had come from.
And then too, you don't want to take yourself through the process of letting everybody know that, hey, I'm going through this for something bad to happen, and then you got to go through and explain, well, this, and this happened.
Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely, because that was you just don't know, like, even if you don't bother nobody. I don't really have any like close, I don't have a circle of friends where I am. It's just, or anything like that. So to have really been going through that by myself and not having anybody that really could relate to what I was going through, I felt very alone at
Yeah.
the same, altogether. I felt very alone.
Yeah, I always say that IVF, even if you do have a huge support system, IVF can be very lonely for the person that is going through it.
Absolutely. It is. And God forbid you have you and somebody's going through it. And I've seen stories like that even in the IVF group where, you and a sister, or a girl and her friend, they went through the whole process, but one was able to have their baby and the other one lost theirs.
Yeah.
That is, it makes you feel some kind of way, because even 2 years down the line, I still feel some way, like, why did God let them have their baby and I lost mine? Why
Yeah.
is this? Why is it? So I go through so much therapy. And I mean, I'm going through therapy on top of therapy on top of therapy just to still function, because it rewires your mind. It changes how you feel about yourself, your body. It changes how you think about everything. Your perspective and view of life, it changes the lens on a lot of things. When you go through a very traumatic experience, it's not like losing a parent or nothing. Like, this is a child, and to go through that, it just changes your trajectory on a lot of things in life.
No, I completely understand.
Yeah.
And again, sorry for your loss because I cannot imagine. Um, so what I know you were saying as far as like your job pays, but now you're looking for grants. Why
Mhm.
did they cut off your resources for your insurance to pay for
So,
fertility treatment?
okay. So I am a 100% disabled veteran.
Okay.
So what happened is that I've had a couple of surgeries in my time in the military where it was documented. So there is a protocol that has to be gone through in order for you to even get any kind of fertility treatment that extensive through the VA. And then they will have to through your care in the community. So basically, it is a lifetime referral where you can get six IUIs, 6 cycles of IVF, and or 6 transfers, whichever comes first. You Once that is done, it null and voids pretty much that portion of the insurance. So all that I have left, so like all I have left is I can do, I think I got 5 or 6 more IUIs, but they will still cover crypto preservation of whatever embryos we still have until I die. They will also pay for transfer. Like if I go from one clinic to the other, they will, if long as I am, even through IUI, if I still need medication, they will still cover that and whatnot. But IVF itself, that part is completely off the table, which is where I would have to outsource a grant that will help, um, that will possibly help women who are going through that process, and see if you turn in all the paperwork, and hopefully they'll take care of that grant in order for you to get, I don't know, I guess a one full cycle and transfer. I'm guessing that's what it would be.
Yeah.
So that's where I am.
That is so crazy that they would like limit it to like a specific number, not knowing what you're going to go through and what your journey will be.
Mhm.
Right, absolutely. So they do limited it. I don't know. I last was told that there could possibly be a bill that might help extend something like that, but that is completely up in the air the way how everything is.
Right.
Um, um, I think there is there are some things that are as far as the VA and stuff is concerned, but in my state of North Carolina, the only way you're going to get that kind of fertility insurance or coverage is if you are working through an employer here. They don't have it like on the market, like some
Yeah.
states, they actually have it to where you can pay strictly for that. But in North Carolina, they do not have that. You have to work at like Starbucks or something that has Progny or whatever insurance plan that covers fertility that way.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Understandable.
So, what is one piece of advice you would give a woman thinking about going through the infertility process?
Woo! If you are married or with a potential significant other that you're going through this with, please make sure that y'all foundation is solid first.
Whew. Let
Because
me tell you. Yes.
let me tell you, it will rock everything. It will rock the foundation if it is not strong enough. And and then and for women, like, don't go into it thinking that this is a guarantee, that it can happen. But still have an open mind. That the journey is definitely not linear. It's not linear. It's gonna have some hills and some valleys. Some people get lucky and it's a one straight, one shot, one kill kind of thing. But for some women, it is some loops, it is some spaghetti junctions, it's a little bit of rocky road. There's like a broken bridge somewhere. You got to figure out how to cross it. if but if you really, 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 really want it, and that is really what your heart desire, just try until you can't try no more, but don't bleed the bank account. If because it's very taxing. And then when I looked at the bill and how much things was, and I said, I feel my heart hurts for women who want to have children and they have to go through loans, and her husband got to go through, they drain out everything, they got to meet this cap with their insurance company before this is taken care of. And they bled through credit cards and everything, and then they still come out empty handed, but with all the debt involved.
Yes.
And that is very disheartening. I cannot fathom it, and it really breaks my heart. So that is the one advice I would say. Definitely have a strong spiritual foundation, a strong foundation with you and your partner, and hope for the best.
Yeah. No,
Because
I
it
love
ain't
that.
easy.
Like, okay. Yeah. I love that because if all of your foundations in your life are not strong, financial, relationship, like with God, like this situation will tax all of them and make you question everything.
Yes, because I went through that, and I even got to a point where I was like, am I playing God? Like, am I not, am I bypassing some things that I did? Because I'm not getting any younger. Men can have kids until they're to their 80s,
1,000.
right?
Yeah.
They can be dead, and you can extract it and
I
figure out,
still having babies.
but we are on a clock, and as Black women, we don't get the care nutrition wise, we don't get the care therapy wise, we don't get all of the tools that we need, that all the our other female counterparts of other ethnicities and races don't get. We don't Some of us do not have access to it. um
Yeah.
and so that makes it even more frustrating, because then you're wondering, well, are we not supposed to be together? Or did God just say, no, you're not supposed to? So I think we need, and I've seen people get divorced because they're like, maybe we weren't supposed to have kids. This was our main reason of being together, to be fruitful and multiply, and it's not happening. So what are we gonna do? What other purpose do we serve? But it took me a while to realize that there might be something bigger than that. And maybe, but all the old folks say, if you don't think about it, it'll happen.
That isn't necessarily true all the
That is
time, Auntie. It's not true all the time.
it is definitely not. And so that would be my advice is definitely just have whatever affairs you have in order and and just have an open mind because you just really never know. You just never know. And it's not a blame game. It's not a blame game. It's just sometimes we're just a victim of circumstances.
Yeah.
And we have to figure out how to navigate that to, without dissolving a marriage or dissolving, other things that might be, that might have a major influence in the journey.
No, I completely understand that. Well, we do want to thank you for sharing your story with us. You have a beautiful story, and I do wish you well, whether you choose to continue, but mostly just praying for your peace of mind and where you are right now in life and in your journey. But I do
Thank
wish you well
you
with that.
much.
You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
And thank you, ladies, so much for allowing me to do this. Is actually the first time I've ever been able to share my story.
Well, that's
Me too.
beautiful. We are so happy
Yeah.
to give people the
Yes.
platform to share.
Yes.
Yeah.
Um, Whenever we do get everything together, I know I'll be reaching out asking like if you would like to share like pictures of you like throughout your journey. I know sometimes like things like this could be therapeutic. Like we need to, no matter where we are in our journey, just share so we could get it out, the words, the emotions, how we felt and how we currently feel.
Absolutely. Because right now we do have a march of what I do in order to basically pay it forward. We don't have like a March of Dimes headquarters where I can go and volunteer, but whenever there is a walk, like a 5K walk or something like that here in the Raleigh area, I try to attend and go, so that way I can bring awareness. That's pretty much the only way I've been able to pay it forward. But to be able to share my story without crying for the first time, that was very therapeutic. And I really appreciate you ladies very, very much for giving me
Thank you.
a voice.
Anytime. We'd
Absolutely.
love to hear it. So tell us about
Absolutely.
yourself, name, location,
Mhm.
occupation, etc.
Yes. Yes. So my name is Kayla Jones. I'm 30 years old. I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I am currently my current occupation is a nurse. So I'm a registered nurse.
Okay.
Yes.
So, how did you find out you were infertile?
Okay, so I actually got pregnant in 2023. It was about late summer, so about July to August time, I found out that I was pregnant. At 8 weeks, I ended up finding out that it was an ectopic pregnancy. So I ended up going to the ER one day because I was having some really bad cramping, which turned into like severe bleeding and all of these things. So I went to the ER. And when I went to the ER, of course, they did like an ultrasound and everything, and they basically told me that they couldn't really find baby, even though I was testing positive for pregnancy. So the ultrasound tech said that they thought that it was an ectopic pregnancy. However, the physician that reviewed my imaging said they just thought it was a normal miscarriage, sent me home. About 3 days later, I was still having excruciating right shoulder pain.
Wow.
And they told me to follow up with my doctor. So I followed up with my doctor. I want to say maybe it was like the Monday. So I went to the ER on a Sunday. Maybe the Monday or Tuesday, I actually followed up with my OB in office. And of course, they drew my HCG levels to make sure that they were going down. So I want to say by like Wednesday or Thursday, the levels were back and they were still really, really high. So as soon as I got on like the portal and saw that they were high, I called the office and I was like, my HCG levels are still really high, and I know they're supposed to be, slowly making their way down since they diagnosed me with the miscarriage. And they said, well, you come on in and, we'll do another ultrasound.
soon as the ultrasound tech literally did the transvaginal ultrasound and put it like on the side where my tube was, where the baby was stuck at, you could just see it there. The tube was like huge. You could
Wow.
see where obviously the embryo was trying to grow there. And so the ultrasound tech had told my doctor, like, hey, this is stuck into the fallopian tube. And there in the office, I literally had to make a decision of either having the tube removed or having methotrexate as my other option to obviously, rid of the pregnancy. So I called my husband while he was at work, and I was like, I literally have to make like a life or death decision at this point because the tube was way to rupturing, and I started to get bleeding in my liver.
Wow.
So I asked my doctor. I think it may have disconnected from
Yeah,
the
yeah,
headphones. Maybe.
disconnected from that, but we
Yeah.
could, you sound so much better like that. Yeah.
Oh, with it. Okay.
No,
No,
without it,
without
without
it,
it.
without it.
Without it. Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Mm.
Um, so I was asking my doctor and my OBGYN, she's actually African American, which I like love that. And I was like, well, Dr. Hawkins, if you were me, like, what would you do? Would you go the methotrexate route or would you just have the whole tube removed? And she was like, it's basically your decision. She said, but if I were you, since it's on its way to rupturing, I would just get rid of the tube. So I was like, okay. So obviously it was like, what am I doing? Like, should I really do this? But I definitely trusted her. And a few minutes later, she sent me over to the hospital so that I could go into emergency surgery. And they removed the tube. So I got my right fallopian tube removed. And that's basically how I found out that I was infertile. So when I followed up with her, she basically has said that I had like a lot of scarring around that tissue area. And they also had checked the other fallopian tube while they were in there. So they did like the HSG where they put the dye through there to see if it would go through. The left fallopian tube like was just barely dripping out the dye. So it didn't flow through, but it was, barely dripping out. And she has said this is obviously, like from some scar tissue. So what made me think about it was like, how would I have gotten this scar tissue? I remember when I was like 16 or 17, being curious, wanting to have sex and everything. I had got an STD and I think it had went untreated for quite a while, which probably later on just caused that, damage to the fallopian tubes.
Yeah.
Hmm.
No, completely understandable. And a lot of women do go through that. What was
Yeah.
your initial emotion, figuring out that you were infertile, and how did you process that?
I literally thought my life was like coming to an end. I'm like, oh my gosh, like, not only did I find out that I was infertile, but I lost the tube. So it's like, dang, I'm losing one of my lady parts at the same
Yeah.
time. At the time, I also was in nursing school. So I ended up finishing nursing school. However, I did stop working for like maybe 4 to 5 months because I also worked around babies at the time in a children's hospital. So that was kind of like hard for me to like go to work every day, be around all these babies, and knowing that I was just pregnant a week ago and now I'm back here at work. So it definitely was like terrifying for me. I definitely also felt myself like go into depression. My husband also kind of like told me, I think you're a little depressed. I think you should probably talk to somebody. So I did end up going to like therapy for a while. And I definitely would say it took some time to like actually get to accepting like this is my life now. And not only that, but I remember Dr. Hawkins telling me at my follow-up appointment, she was like, more than likely, the only way you'll be able to get pregnant is obviously through IVF. And I'm like, there's no way that she's telling me that this is the only option that I have.
Yeah.
And then, of course, you hear all the stories about how expensive IVF is. And you're just like, this can't be life. Um, However, I ended up going through IVF. So just earlier this year in February, my husband and I started IVF. And I'm actually pregnant right now. I'm currently 13 weeks
Congratulations.
pregnant. Thank you. Yes,
How
I'm
many
currently
weeks?
I'm 13 weeks now.
Oh, awesome.
Yes, so we had a transfer in June and June 17th actually, and then June 26th I ended up doing a beta and it worked on the first try. So
That's
I'm
good.
thankful for that for sure. And it took me a while, I think, to like these last 2 years, even though the ectopic happened in 2023, I definitely was like still just trying on my own, like naturally saying, like, I can do this, I don't need help. And finally, I was just like, look, you're just gonna have to, take what it is for, and just do what it is that you need to do in order to start your family. Because obviously, that's what I wanted in the end.
Yeah. No, congratulations. I'm happy that your first time looks successful.
Yeah.
Yes,
Because those rates are very low for women to do it first cycle, first transfer. Um,
absolutely.
so that was where you are currently in the journey.
Yes, yes. And I definitely heard like anytime I would go in for different consultations, I remember the ultrasound tech telling me once, she was like, I it took her basically 7 tries of IVF in order to get pregnant. And I was like, oh my gosh, could I see myself going through this
Yeah.
7 different times? So I am just grateful to God that it worked on the first time. Because I definitely was like, I don't think that I could do this
Yeah.
more than like a couple of times, maybe once or twice. But after that, I definitely could probably see myself being like, I don't think I can do this again.
Yeah, that's what I told God. I said, God, I have one cycle in me. Um,
Hmm.
all of those medications that you have to take during a cycle, I was like, God,
Yes, it's a
I'm
lot.
depending on you for one cycle. That's all you have
Yes,
for me. That was my initial
yes,
prayer.
right. Yes.
All right. So, can you tell us your best and worst experiences going through IVF?
I would say the best experience, um, probably would be when I had my egg retrieval. So after doing all of like the stems and everything for those 10 to 12 days, I ended up finding out that we grew 34 follicles. So
Mm.
I was kind of like proud of that. Um, and in the end, we ended up getting 6 embryos. So I also was very proud of that, that we got so many. I would say my worst would probably be, I guess, the emotions that kind of like come with it. Like there would be times that I would just like cry and I wouldn't even have like an answer as to why I was crying. And I'm not really like a crier. So I would be like, what is wrong with me?
Yeah.
Obviously they were the hormones and all of the medications and everything. But I would say like doing the actual injections was like easy. It was just like the emotions that came with it for me that I was like, this is just a lot.
Yeah, no, I completely understand because you could be thinking about anything and then instantly you just start crying out of nowhere.
Yes,
You're like, why
exactly.
am I just give people a disclaimer. If I start crying at any point, just ignore me, please. I'll be
Yes,
okay in
it's
a
the
minute.
hormones for sure. Because one time I started crying leaving an appointment, and my husband was like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, "I mean, I can't even tell you what's wrong. I'm just crying, just to be crying." So yes, I would say that was probably like the worst part for me because it's like I can't verbalize like exactly what an issue is.
Yeah, no, I get that. What resources did you use to pay for infertility treatments?
So we did use our health insurance that we have. So my husband is in the military, so he does have like pretty good insurance. And they actually covered for us 3 cycles per calendar year. They would pay like $25,000 each for each
Wow,
cycle.
that's
Right.
real good.
Yeah, so it was I was like definitely surprised by how much they would put in because I was thinking like, oh, we're gonna have to like come out of pocket or maybe like take out a loan. They offer lenders and everything.
Yeah,
So I was really willing to do anything to obviously have a baby, but I was definitely grateful that the insurance covered majority of it. I would say the most that we probably came out of pocket, like ourselves, as far as like our out of pocket costs, was probably maybe $5,000 to $7,000 for what we had to pay. But I know like there's people that are paying, tens and thousands of dollars for sure.
No, that's good that they cover. I mean, one cycle can be at
Yes.
$20,000 by itself,
Mhm.
and then they are actually covering three per calendar year. That's
That is
awesome.
Yes. Yes. So I
Everybody,
was definitely
ladies listening, go find you a military man.
okay. That's it. That is really that is definitely it for sure. I know I'm in a couple of like Facebook pages or Facebook groups. And there's like women that say, they just have no idea like how they're gonna cover insurance doesn't even offer. And I'm like, I couldn't imagine, like being in that spot. So I definitely like feel for them because I know it can probably be hard, definitely already in the position of being infertile, and then you're wondering like how you're going to pay for to get a baby.
Exactly. No,
Hmm.
understandable.
So what is a piece of advice you would give someone about that's thinking about going into this process and the journey?
Honestly, I would say because it took me a while, I would just say like let go and let God just have His way and just be like the head of the journey and not try to like control things yourself because it's really out of your control.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I definitely like did research and tried to do different things like acupuncture, change diets and things like that. But ultimately it was just like not trying to stress about something that it's either gonna work or it's not gonna work.
Yeah.
So definitely just like being stress free, like literally just staying prayed up about the situation because obviously if you don't have any faith, it's not gonna work. So definitely just being faithful, being in your word, and just trusting the process for sure.
No, that's beautiful. I
It
love
is.
that. Well, we do want to congratulate you on your
Yes.
pregnancy.
Thank you. Thank
Hope
you. Thank
that is
you.
healthy. You have a healthy delivery and a perfect
Yes.
baby.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And thank you for sharing your story with us.
Absolutely.
Hi, I'm Nina. Nice to meet you, ladies.
I'm Aisha.
And I'm Tia.
Okay, nice to meet you both.
So
Where are you all located?
oh, well, we're in Tennessee. What state are you in?
Okay. I'm in Maryland, about 15 minutes outside of Washington, D.C.
Okay.
Okay, up there with the good crab cakes.
Yes.
So, how did you find out that you were infertile?
Um, so that was maybe 3 years ago, maybe might have been a little bit longer. But I was diagnosed with unexplained infertility. And um, I I just, had been going back and forth to the doctor, trying to figure out what was happening. And, they were aware that I had fibroids, but um, from their understanding, like the fibroid wasn't the cause of the infertility based on where they were placed, even though they were fairly large. And so, yes, the doctor diagnosed me.
So, what were like your initial emotions? Like how did you process it when they informed you?
So I remember leaving the doctor's office, calling my mom. I remember being upset. And she comforted me and just was like, as moms do. And she's like, it'll be fine, it'll be fine. You'll be okay, it'll work out, it'll work out. Those were kind of her words. And, of course, I'm just like, okay, I hear you, lady, but I also hear, what they're saying to me. And so it's just a pull on every emotion, I guess. Trying to remain optimistic, also, staring at this different information. So it was, again, kind of just an emotional pull.
So, are you single, married? Divorced,
Married.
married. Okay, okay.
Yeah.
That's what. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, where are you currently at in your journey?
So I currently have a 1-year-old.
Wow.
Um, she's 15 months. She will be starting daycare on Tuesday. Um, Eventually, I did move forward with having the surgery to remove my fibroids, and um, they give you like a waiting period, give your body time to recover. So we waited that period out. We tried again. I ended up having a miscarriage. And then in that whole process, my father passed. And so we didn't try for a while. I had my daughter 2 years, essentially 2 years after I had the surgery.
Okay.
So, did you ended up doing IVF?
So I tried initially. We went to here. I don't know if you all are familiar with Shady Grove. Um, so they're a fertility center. They are, well known for their success. But because of my age, because of my weight, like they were very standoffish and very much kind of like, oh, you need to go lose 40 pounds before we do this, your age, just um, they're just not welcoming at all. And I saw, I think in the group that where I saw this, posted, um, lots of women sort of had similar experiences with them. And so in talking with my therapist, she was like, well, it's because they pride themselves on their numbers. And so if they think that you're going to, mess up their numbers in any way, they don't want to bring you on. And so well, I was referred, right. So I was referred to, I believe they're called Columbia someone in the group mentioned, I can't think of their name now, Columbia Health, but another fertility clinic. Went there, met with an amazing doctor, sort of had a plan. And then, once he saw the fibroids, he's like, well, you either need to freeze your eggs before you have the surgery to remove them, or just kind of wait it out. And it was just going to be such a crazy process. I was just like, you know what? I'm just going to move forward with having the surgery, being hopeful, being optimistic that, it will make a difference. And so I ultimately didn't need to go that route.
Okay. So
So I
after,
was able to conceive naturally.
okay, okay,
Yeah.
got you. So
Mhm.
who was your biggest supporter during this process?
Um, it's hard to say. Because of course, like this wasn't something that we shared with everyone. Of course, my mom knew, a few of my girlfriends. Um, because I guess sort of because of who I am and where I was in life, like people really weren't expecting me to be trying or expecting me to have a child. I will say that prior to my dad's stroke, he was definitely like the main person that wanted me to have children, wanted me to have grandkids. He would like ask often until he stopped asking. So I like to think of him as a supporter, even though he's no longer with us. I would say that he was probably my biggest supporter in terms of wanting me to have children.
Oh, that's beautiful.
Yes. So what resources did you use to pay for the infertility treatments?
I had my insurance covered like my initial visits, and my insurance was going to cover everything I believe except for the medication. And so again, in one of those groups, like I'm seeing people post like, oh, garage sale. I'm like, what is a garage sale?
Right.
Uh, and then I found out it's like, oh, this is, where they're, offering to sell their, unused medication. So I remember like getting a call from the doctor just kind of listing all the things that all the medications that the insurance wouldn't cover. So I think it was going to be around like maybe 1,200 or so out of pocket. But again, fortunately didn't have to go that route.
No, that's
Okay,
good.
that's good.
Mhm.
So, what's one piece of advice that you would give a woman thinking about embarking on her infertility journey?
So I would say really find the right clinic, find a place that is supportive of your journey, that is not trying to discourage you, a place that is not concerned about, if it is successful or not, how that's going to impact them, and really advocate for yourself. Because of course, I think as for Black women, they're, depending on where you go, like they're already just going to list all these barriers, all these obstacles. And so that can easily discourage you. And sometimes really all you just need is another clinic, or you just need, another opinion, or, you just need a word. So to really advocate for yourself. And if it does not feel right, um, to move appropriately. I think we get to this place and we feel so desperate and we feel so dependent upon the medical community, that it is kind of easy to lose your faith. It is easy to start to see yourself more as I won't say victim, but just really not see yourself in the strongest light because you're so dependent on all these other moving parts and moving pieces and moving people, to kind of put this thing together. But lean on your strength and, again, advocate for yourself. And if it doesn't feel right, if your spirit is saying do something else, do something, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't,
No, I love that.
yeah, don't second guess yourself.
Yes.
Whatever you feel is right, do that for yourself.
Mhm.
So,
Yes.
your pregnancy, how was that for you?
I
Like
was
finding out and
sure.
going through the process.
So as I mentioned, I remember when I got pregnant the first time, really being surprised that it happened so quickly because it's like, okay, I went through this major surgery, and we did this whole weight thing, and then it's like maybe after two tries, it's like, oh, you have a positive pregnancy test. I'm like, what? Like, oh my God, like, how does this happen so fast? And um, so really just surprised. And then I would say, I think it was about 6 weeks in when I had the miscarriage. And as I said, my dad was struggling with his health then. And so I had really taken uh, getting pregnant, like that had just been really pushed to the back burner. My dad had a stroke in April. He passed the following May. And so none of that time was I even thinking, let's try again, let's try again. Like my brain just was not in that space. Um, and so I didn't get pregnant until that October. And so finding out again, I think I was just kind of in a daze, like excited, but also very cautious, concerned, just, worried about what happened previously, certainly not in a position to take on like another loss. Just mentally I knew that that was not just not going to be good for me. Fortunately, on the second go round, I was able to stay home. I didn't work my whole pregnancy. I got to just relax, be home. My husband would make me beet juice, like I'm reading every, Googling what keeps the baby there, what keeps the baby stuck, what's helpful, what helps you to prevent miscarriages. So just being able to just be home and relax and not be stressed about work, be able to continue processing the loss of my dad. I think all those things, really made a difference. Just be able to sit with one of my girlfriends said, Nina, you got your feet up. I don't want you to move. You just lay around all day, every day. You just keep your feet up all day. But so that was a blessing. It really was. And so I was also high risk, blood pressure, blood sugar, all those things. So I had to keep going. I had to go maternal fetal like twice a week. But that was actually a blessing because of course it's more monitoring, but then also like you keep getting that reassurance. At 2 days out of the week, you're reassured your baby is okay, your baby is okay. So while it was a hassle, it was a blessing as well. And it kind of just kept making it like more real for me as time went on. Cause I think initially I was still just like, what's happening here? Who's
Which
having a
is
baby?
common, very common. The disbelief.
Right. Yes, yes, yes. And so the further along it went, it was like, okay, it's happening to me. And then the more, you get to see the images, and always printing them off, like, yeah, print those off, please. I need to bring those up.
You're paying for it anyways.
Yes, yes, yes. So yeah, it was again one of those emotional things where it's like a part of you is in disbelief, a part of you is super excited, a part of you is just like hesitant to like buy in all the way. So all of those emotions.
I love that.
Yeah.
And we
Mhm.
are sorry that we were late, but thank you
That's
so much
okay.
for sharing your story. It's beautiful and congratulations on your baby.
Yes.
Um,
Thank you so much. Thank you.
One question I did have was whenever you did initially go to the first clinic,
Mhm.
was your physician, were they African American at the Shady Grove?
No, they were not. And I remember, it's this how you know it was a bad experience because I remember. I remember, I remember going, I remember the nurse who did my initial sonogram, ultrasound, all of that. And she was like, oh, there's all these fibroids. I mean, there's a lot. And I'm just like, well, how many is a lot? And,
Right.
where are they? Because it's just like, oh, well, I mean, there's just a lot. Like, just very rude. I wrote a email to somebody. Now that you guys are reminding me, yeah, like it was such a bad experience. It was a very cold experience. And I felt like I don't know for you all, but as a Black woman, like I'm automatically questioning, like, are you treating me this way because I'm a Black woman? And you are a white woman and you feel like you are in some sense of power or control over me. Like, why am I being treated in this way? I'm here for service. I'm here, I'm paying, like all of those things. You're gonna make me go pull up that email because in the most professional way that I could, like really was like, this is absolutely ridiculous, and people are coming to you for help and do not deserve to be treated in this way.
Exactly right.
And that was just day one, my first experience with them. That was before the doctor had all the tests and you're this and you're that, and it was a horrible experience with them. It really was.
I'm sorry you had to experience
Yeah.
that, but that is something common that we are
Hmm.
finding out. I feel like as Black women, we do always go through those type of situations. Is the physician hearing us? Do they think that
Hmm.
we're just being extra because we're Black women? Are you not taking
Right.
us serious because we are Black women? So
Right.
hopefully that this will bring light to situations
Hmm.
like that, and
Hmm.
we can get some changes made.
Yeah, I mean, because even I know this is veering off slightly, and I know you guys have other folks behind me, but even with the fibroids, like my doctor, I had had them for forever, and my doctor was just like, "Oh, well, if they don't really cause you pain, then don't worry about it." But what is pain? Like you learn to normalize those things. Like when I had them removed, like I immediately felt like, oh, they're gone. Like that's what that feeling was like all that time. So you just kind of, again, like learn to normalize pain because the expectation is you're a Black woman and you're strong and that's what you're supposed to do.
Exactly.
And no,
You're right.
and no, and
Um,
no.
I would love for you to share your email with us. So if you do
Sure.
pick it up,
Oh,
you
I'm gonna
can
find
send it and share.
it. I will find it and I will send it along.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you. Thank you for your time. Your story is
Sure.
beautiful. And
Thank,
again, congratulations and thank you for being a part of this.
Yes.
thank you so much. Thank you both. You all enjoy your day.
You do the
You
same.
too.
Bye.